What's poppin', everyone? It's Loho Plays. We are back for a semifinals of the Pokemon PB Battle Organization PBO. We of course are the New York Nuggets in the semifinals against the Wichita Weaviles. Last week's was like an hour-long video, so I'm really trying to not let that happen today. So we're gonna kind of go through this a little bit quickly. This is our squad. I made a major change right before playoffs and swapping out Brave Yari Hisui for Basket Legion Female. Ultimately, it is a really scary threat with adaptability. Last respects, you definitely have to respect it, but I'm actually not bringing it, but we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, this is our squad. We have Sneasler, who can Terra Captive Fighting or Flying, Basket Legion F, Rotamo, Klefki, Lycanroc, Pyroar, Hatterene, Tatsugiri, Spidup, Sandaconda, and Girafarig. We of course are up against the Wichita Weaviles with Enamorus, Toedsquirrel, Overquill, Primate, Vaporeon, Haunter, Baxcalibur, which is the Terra Captain, which can be Dragon or Fairy, Magneton, Quagsire, Hatchrim, Ampharos. So, very scary team, especially Baxcalibur, because it has a very high chance to just sweep us. And we also lost the first time to this team. So, yeah, very scary. I think I definitely had options to win the first time we played. I just definitely misplayed, so hopefully no more misplays today. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the squad that I'm bringing. First of all, Jason the Sneasler. Of course, I think even my opponent understands this is definitely coming. And also, from how they play, I also have kind of figured out what they're going to bring. Baxcalibur is definitely coming, Enamorus is definitely coming. I think the way that Quagsire has Unaware, it's definitely coming because it can wall Sneasler at least for 2 turns. Not with Terra Fighting, but it can wall. It can take 1 close combat. Last time he beat me with close combat, I close combated into encounter. But we have techs to hopefully prevent that. I also think Toedsquirrel is coming. I think the matchup against Rotamo is actually super good. I think he'll bring that again. Put in a lot of work against me. So last time he also brought Ampharos and Vaporeon. I actually think Vaporeon might still come because it has Water Absorb, be very good for Basket Legion. But also I could definitely see it not coming because I think, like, his playstyle though is always bring Vaporeon because he can Wish Pass, which is extremely useful, which I'm still preparing for Wish Pass. I think if Vaporeon comes, it's actually more beneficial to me, but it'll still be difficult. And then the final one, he chose Ampharos last time. I think this time he's probably going to bring Magneton or Overquill. Overquill to just help with Basket Legion. And Magneton can trap in my Klefki, which can help his Baxcalibur sweep. Which I prepared for last time, but I'm not preparing for this time. But hopefully we can just outplay. I don't know. It's going to be a tough week. So, Sneasler, Aya, Papa Berry, Unburdened, Swords and Substitute, Close Combat, Dire Claw with an Adamant Nature. So, if you didn't watch last week of the PBO for the playoffs, I made some very ballsy plays in the way that I ran Electric Seed when my opponent could have not brought Pincurchin at all. And that would have been really bad for us. So, I felt like if we're going to make some jumps, why don't we jump off the cliff, metaphorically? Swords Dance, Substitute, Close Combat, Dark Claw, and we're running an Adamant Nature. This means that we outspeed... Wait, hold on. We outspeed... We don't outspeed Max Speed and Enamorus. And that is because the first game, he brought Choice Scarf and Enamorus Modest. And I felt like that was super strong against me. I still don't have a great switch in to Moonblast, so I think he's gonna bring it again. Because basically my only, I think it's like, what, Pyroar, Klefki's. Pyroar is super weak. Klefki's, hold on, let's look at my thing. Basically, he sees like Moonblast hits everything except for Pyroar and Klefki's. And Klefki, obviously, is the other counter to Baxcalibur. So I definitely think he's going to bring Scarf again, as well as Scarf can outspeed my Sneasler as long as the Unburden is procced. So I think he's going to bring that again. I really, really do. Plus, I think him knowing if he doesn't... So this basically counters his Enamorus speed creeping one of my other Pokemon in case he's not Scarf. So he still will outspeed it, I think, if it's max speed. Maybe? No. Sorry, what I just said. Sorry, I'm also very anxious for this match, by the way. We play in like an hour. I'm very anxious because I don't know whether this will all work out, but we're gonna hope. So this is actually a speed creep for hopefully him speed creeping us, which is kind of a crazy tech. But we're running Swords Dance, Substitute, Close Combat, Darklaw. Obviously, we're running Sub for Quagsire, so it can't counter us. Still have to be careful about Encore. Definitely a very scary thing that it can do. I think Encore lasts 3 turns, as well as Substitute does not do well into Baxcalibur. But the thing is, if I weaken Baxcalibur a little bit, my Terra Fighting Close Combat has a chance to kill it at like 80-something% because I am Adamant. So I'm hoping this Adamant will pull off, because I think once he sees the sub up, I think he's going to want to go for Baxcalibur because he's going to Icicle Spear. I also think he's bringing Loaded Ice Icicle Spear again. We'll see. But Iapapa Berry, Unburden. Iapapa lets me control my Unburden a little bit. Basically, I can sub until my Iapapa activates, and then my Unburden goes into effect. So that's the whole logic behind that. I was thinking also Air Balloon for this. I think it like definitely walls Clag in that scenario, because then he really doesn't have to. He has to spend a turn hitting me with basically like Avalanche or some other useless move. But he could also Encore again. So the problem with that is that for my Unburden to proc, I'd have to take a hit with my Air Balloon, which I don't always get to choose when I take a hit with Sneasler. So that's basically the idea with this. Also, I renamed him to put some little. It's another tech, renaming your guys that like different from the rest of the season. Puts a little intimidation. You never know what's coming out. But yeah, we're running Terra Fighting though. I was thinking about running Terra Flying, but ultimately I think it's bad for backs. It's better for Enamorous, I think, but also I think it's always running Psychic. Better for like Quagsire, but I still think Terra Fight can 2-hit KO. Even like if Overcoil comes and it's an Intimidate set, if we threaten something out, we sub first so we can block the Intimidate, and then we just 2-hit KO it with Close Combat. So yeah, that's basically Sneasler. We're bringing Khakis, the Klefki, Leftovers Prankster, Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Flash Cannon, Magnet Rise, fully defensive set. So what happens here? We can't hit Magneton. Please don't bring Magneton. That's the mindset there. Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Flash Cannon, and Magnet Rise. So Magnet Rise obviously make us immune for Earthquake. I think I was watching some of his videos, and I think he kind of considered Klefki as a mon that he can just switch into with like Quag, Vaporeon. He can set up rocks. He can just Wish Pass. He can do a lot of things against Klefki. And that is true with the normal screen set that I bring. But actually I'm bringing Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Flash Cannon, which is really, really strong, because even if Max tries to set up on me, my Prankster Iron Defense kind of nullifies his Dragon Dances. Obviously I have leftovers, so I'm still taking like, you know, I'm still taking a lot of damage, but ultimately I will, I think, win that 1v1. I'm also predicting I'm going to bring Terra Fairy this time. I think last time I brought Dragon. I think Fairy is a lot better for this situation because he can 50-50 my Sneasler of whether I can go for a poison or fighting type move, as well as for Hatterene. I think he wants to be Fairy type so he doesn't take Fairy super effective damage, but you never know. He could definitely still bring Dragon. He could also just... I'm bringing 2 Fairy Mons for Glaive Rush, but you never know. So Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Flash Cannon, Magnet Rise. We live in Enamorous, Modest, Choice Scarf, Mystical Fire as well. And I think we 2-hit KO with Flash Cannon. I think we need 2 Calm Minds up to actually kill it. But basically we can live a hit and weaken Enamorous a lot. Which is actually super important. You're gonna see like the whole mindset is to actually weaken things and then have either Klefki set up or Sneasler set up. So I think I ran some calcs specifically for certain stuff. I think Flash can still 2-hit KOs Enamorous after a Mystical Fire, so even though it drops our special attack, we're still doing a lot of damage. So yeah, that's this mindset. Next we have Spidops. He's back. You know, he never had it. He only had 1 game this season. Had to bring him back. Stakeout, Toxic Spikes, Poison Jump, Spikes, U-Turn, 252 HP, 252 attack. Figgy Berry with Stakeout. So things that we're hoping, Toad Scroll doesn't have Taunt. Even if it does, it's not really that bad for us. We just U-Turn anyway. We can stay on Toad Scroll actually and threaten it with the U-turn, as well as Poison Jab, Spikes, Toxic Spikes. Toxic Spikes are really freaking good if he doesn't bring Overquill. I think he's gonna bring Overquill, but if that's the case, I think my Sneasler can pressure it to come out, as well as my Hatterene can pressure it to come out where potentially I could kill it and then Toxic Spike later. But if Overquill is there, maybe I can just Toxic Spikes. Basically this as a hazard setter counters the Toad Scroll, so that's basically the mindset. I had to run 252 attack actually, because I think with Baxcalibur, as long as it can run a little bit of HP, but basically if it doesn't Terra, or if it's Terra Dragon, my U-turn can break this up, and as well as I do have Poison Jab if it's Terra Fairy to also hit it that way. So hopefully game 1 I can figure out whether it's Dragon or Fairy, and kind of go for there, because I think game 2, no matter win or lose, if this is my lead, I think Baxcalibur comes out and goes for an Icicle Spear into an Ice Shard. I don't know if he's going to bring an Ice Shard, but most likely Icicle Spear. So I don't know why I'm running Figgy Berry though, because then in that case, I think the whole point was to give me a little bit of health to live an Ice Shard after an Icicle Spear. But to be honest, I don't think it makes much sense here. I think I might change it. I'll definitely think on that, because I could definitely run like Red Card or something and force a switch actually. That also helps. Well, I don't think Red Card activates after an Icicle Spear Dragon Dance. As you can see, I'm not very certain with these sets, so we'll think about an item. I'll let y'all know before the battle if I do change it. Dumbledore is back. Weakness Policy, Magic Bounce, Mystical Fire, Giga Drain, Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, 252 Special Attack, 248 HP. So another questionable thing that I did with this set, I really wanted to run Clear Amulet, which basically I think it's Clear Amulet instead of Weakness Policy. No, it's not Clear Amulet. It's the one that basically allows you, yeah, Ability Shield for Magic Bounce, because Toad Scroll can still spore my squad. And I really thought in a scenario where I have my Rotom out, and he's just like spiking a whole bunch on me, and I can't do much damage to him, honestly, but I was really worried that he could spore my Hatterene, because I do want to switch in on the Mag Bounce to hopefully get up a spike. But if it is spore, that means that he always moves last, which I could get a Mystical Fire off. And the Ability Shield would also basically allow me to not fall asleep, because it's a weird mechanic. Mycelium Might allows you to go through abilities, but then Ability Shield actually protects your ability. So very unique thing that I actually had to test out. But we're not running Amulet. Instead we're running Weakness Policy, because I think it's a little bit more effective. There's no reason to run Berry, because Baxcalibur's Icicle Sphere still basically does like more than Berry or Iron Head. And even if Enamorus is Iron Head, or if it's Sludge Bomb, we can't take a Moonblast into a Sludge Bomb, but we can still at least come in cleanly and take one. I think he's gonna be Scarf, but I think this is just a backup, as well as Overquill. If it has Poison Jab and it does come, I can Trick Room turn 1, take the hit, proc my Weakness Policy, and then I do a lot of damage to a lot of things. And that's basically the main idea, basically. Yeah, this thing is just basically here to do a lot of damage and soak at least 1 to 2 hits if possible. Also really good in the Quag, specifically for the Giga Drain, Magic Bounce for the spikes, and then Quag really can't do that much to me. It basically has to let me just Giga Drain it. Next we have Clippers, Rotom Mow, Assault Vest, Volt Switch, Foul Play, Leaf Storm, Hex. I think I may have showed my cards a little bit too early, because last playoff game I did bring Foul Play on Rotom Mow, and I was watching his video of his mindset of Baxcalibur can always sub on Rotom because we don't have a move for him. Foul Play basically allows me to have a move for him, although at that point we're basically sacking Rotom, but you know, it is what it is. Volt Switch, Leaf Storm, Hex, Assault Vest. It's basically if it's uninvested Toad Scroll. Last time we brought Sludge Bomb, it was doing like 40% to me. This time it should do like literally max like 20%. We could get Toxic, which would be pretty bad, but we're basically gonna Foul Play, Leaf Storm him. We're not doing much damage, but we are weakening him Oh, excuse me. As well as if Toad Scroll is toxic, we can hex him and do a decent amount of damage as well. A lot more damage, I think, than... I mean, Leaf Storm is stab. It's probably like equivalent to a little bit less damage than Leaf Storm, but obviously we don't drop our special attack right too, so it's very useful. Next, Tatsugiri, Heavy Duty Boots, Storm Drain, Taunt, Terra Blast, Rapid Spin, Draco Meteor. This is like another check to Magneton. This also is like a weird set to counter Magneton, speed creeping, anything that it normally can't. So we're Heavy Duty Boots, Storm Drain, Taunt. Taunt is for Vaporeon. Last time it like super walled me. And then I think I literally after battle was like, man, I should have brought Taunt. So he might be expecting Taunt, which is fine. I mean, Mental Herb I think is a waste of an item for Vaporeon. Running Terra Blast instead of Surf because honestly I'm annoyed that everything has Water Absorb on his team. And ultimately it just benefits him a lot. Taunt basically shuts down Vaporeon in a way that can only attack, but also it can still Wish and then switch the following turn. But ultimately Terra Blast really helps because I can, instead of Surf spamming, I can just go for Terra Blast and it's guaranteed to do at least some damage against something. So Rapid Spin and then we're Draco Meteor. I really wanted, if I had like a 5th option for a move slot, I would have ran Nasty Plot. The reason why, I think Nasty Plot is super strong for additive pressure because last time he was kind of hard switching in Enamorus or Baxcalibur to do damage to this thing. So yeah, I think, and plus after a Rapid Spin I can outspeed a lot of stuff. Not Enamorus, obviously. I do outspeed Baxcalibur. I think this is what this set is for. After a Rapid Spin I do outspeed Max Speed Baxcalibur. And yeah, Draco Meteor just to do some decent damage. Heavy Duty Boots is a little bit questionable. It's definitely hard to determine an item here, but I'll definitely think about if I change that. But without further ado, let's get into the battles. Wish us some luck, everyone, because we gonna need it. We of course end the semifinals. Yeah, wish us some luck. Feeling very nervous, but we definitely have a good chance to win. I think we're bringing some heat too, so I think it's a mix between fun and hopefully we don't get smoked by Magneton. Choice Spec Magneton will definitely run, but I do have Rotom Heat or Rotom Mo with the Assault Vest that actually counters that pretty efficiently, although not for Tri Attack, but ultimately Tri Attack is not stab, so we don't have to worry about it too much. Probably gonna change the item, but yeah, sorry, I'm talking too much. This is gonna be an hour-long video, I'm so sorry, but let's get into the battles. All right, and we are here for the battles, but before we start, I do want to say I think I did make some changes. I think I put Tatsugiri as Roselia Berry, everything that stayed the same, and I changed Spidops' Berry to Red Card. I think I may have done that already, I'm not too sure. But going into the match, our opponent has a Baxcalibur, Enamorus, Vaporeon, Quagsire, Toedscruel, and Overquill. By the way, make sure that you check out my opponent. His YouTube will be in the description. His videos are also very entertaining because he actually does live battles. It's definitely going to be a long video, I know for a fact, as this one will probably be as well. But you could see his reactions live to everything that happens, so it's definitely something interesting to check out. So, first squad, we're seeing Baxcalibur, Enamorus, Vaporeon, Quag, Toedscruel, and Overquill. So we pretty much got everything right. I think I was definitely expecting Toedscruel, Bax, Enamorus, and Quag. I wasn't sure about these two. So overall, that's pretty good with for me. I think we still have a lot of information that we need to gather, but we do have a lot of potential here. So playing off, I'm leading off the Spidops. I'm hoping to immediately set hazards up. I was thinking about running T-Specs here, but also, you know, Overquill is in a position, but I do have Red Card. So in this scenario, I definitely want to set up spikes. But I was thinking, okay, he sees my Spidops lead. There's obviously a very high chance that he substitutes up and then basically sets up on me. So this was definitely a scenario that I was debating on. The only thing is obviously if I'm going for a bug move, he can easily Terra Fairy, and my U-turn will not break the sub, so obviously I'm going for a U-turn here. He does show Terra Fairy, which is super good for me because I think I did predict this to come with my Klefki, which means that Flash Cannon is going to do a lot of work here. And then obviously we go for the Iron Defense, goes for Icicle Spear, and suddenly realizes that he does no damage. So also I actually went for Iron Defense instead of Earth Power or Earthquake. I'm pretty happy about that play because I think it's debatable. Like whether he has Earthquake, I still don't know. So Iron Defense is definitely the better play there. Then he actually hard switches into Quag, so then we Magnet Rise up, and then at this point I'm like, okay, well, even if this is Encore, it's not bad for me. I can Calm Mind up, and then I actually beat Enamorous. So we do Calm Mind up, he does Encore, but I'm like, okay, but this Encore is not bad for me because nothing can touch me actually except for Enamorous, basically. So once I set up like 3 Calm Minds, I'm definitely living this Mystical Fire. Even though it's dropping my special attack, I'm basically Calm Minding until the Encore ends, which I think it ends after this turn. And then, thus, at this point, am I still an Encore? No, I'm done. We Flash Cannon, and we do a very good amount of damage to Enamorous, 94%, very, very good. And we go for another one, and he actually sacks his Enamorous, which is super, super good for us. So we basically traded Klefki for Enamorous, and also it's still technically not terrible as a switch into Excalibur. I don't think we live one at this stage, maybe with leftovers. If it's a low ball, maybe, but we see Quag come out. I go for a Flash Cannon because I was predicting him to go for an Encore. So at this point I was like, I might as well Flash Cannon, and then I do predict him to go for an Earthquake, so I bring out Rotom. Here I was definitely expecting Toad Scroll, but I didn't know what I should have gone for, if I should have doubled out or what, but I do go for a Leaf Storm. He does make the appropriate play of going into Excalibur. He was definitely expecting, like, since I'm -2, I essentially can't do anything. I was also debating Volt Switching there, but he definitely makes the right play. He subs on my switch, and then Dragon Dance the following turn, but I do have Poison Jab to break his sub. At this point, I was actually super scared because I think if he high rolls, he kills me here. I think in his perspective, he says that we had a talk after this, but he said that he needed +2 here to sweep the whole game. So I think that's why he ended up actually switching. But technically, I think he always killed me there. Maybe a reason why I should have ran Iapapa instead of Red Card, because I think I did make that change right before the match. So he goes in Overquill. We see the 9%. This is definitely defensive with Black Sludge. It's very good. So we switch into Hat. As we do predict the spikes, we bounce them back. Very good for us. At this point, I am expecting a Poison Jab to come out, so I'm actually Trick Rooming because of my weakness policy. And then we now are able to one-shot this with Dazzling Gleam. He does show Protect, which is another slot that he needs. So we essentially one-shot Overquill. And then I see Vaporeon come in. I'm like, okay, now I understand what he's doing. He's trying to Protect stall me, basically. But the nice thing about this is I can still just stay in. So I'm going to Giga Drain and actually gain back a lot of my health. He's going to Wish up. But I think that's actually a misplay from his part, because essentially I can just Trick Room again, and at this point I can take on Toad Scroll at this amount of health, especially after the Mystical Fire damage, dropping his special attack. He then shows Spore, which I don't know if you guys watch this Team Builder, but we were really hoping not for Spore because I literally switched out weakness policy. I switched out ability thing for weakness policy this match. I still think weakness policy put in a lot of work here. But obviously, because we didn't kill this thing immediately, our thing is now spored. But we do have a lot of health left, so I do decide to switch out. He goes for a Sludge Bomb, does absolutely nothing to the Rotom, and I decide to Foul Play just in case he decides to switch. I don't think Leaf Storm was the best play there for me personally. Then I see he goes into Quagsire. I definitely know that he's basically baiting a Leaf Storm to go into backs later, so I think I double here. Yeah, I do double into Tatsugiri. I felt like losing the Leaf Storm damage was not great for me because essentially I kill it, Bax comes in, it then sets up a sub, and then I basically don't know what I'm doing from there to stop the sweep. So I do think this was an appropriate play. So I do taunt him to prevent the recover as well. He just decides to Earthquake me, and then I go into my Klefki, knowing that he can't Encore me. I can actually set up here. So I Magnet Rise, which is really good because I still don't know if that Excalibur has Earthquake. Then he shows Iron Head, and unfortunately does get a flinch here. In this scenario, I would have killed him. I was going for flash cannon here. So it definitely is a bit unfortunate, but I don't think it means that we lose the game because he doesn't have an SD up. So we then go into Sneasler at this point. He could double. I think my best play is still to close combat here, but ultimately he ends up stacking the Vaporeon so he can go into Quagsire. And then I drop my stats, so basically all I need is Sneasler to backs not to set up, and then Sneasler can win this game from this point. So I do go into Rotom Mo. He doubles back into Baxcalibur, which is a very good play for him. At this point, I cannot do pretty much anything. Like if he sets up here, I lose. But also, I think a better play here for me would have always been Ghost Spidops because he doesn't know I'm red card yet. He also can't sub up on me, and if he Dragon Dances, he loses. So I think from my perspective, I should have gone Spidops here, and then the red card would have ended this game because the Baxcalibur would have died to spikes later on. So I should have actually gone Spidops here. Next is Sneasler comes out. I obviously just go for a close combat because at this point he takes a good bit of damage. And then Quack comes in and then takes 50%. So right here, I actually kill if I just Terra Fight close combat, but I do make a misplay. And I switch out because I was thinking, okay, well, I think Hat took at least one turn of sleep, but it actually didn't. So I was thinking, okay, well, I can at least take 3 hits and then I can go for Giga Drain. But then I realized I still die, and he's now at full health, which is really, really bad for Sneasler. Because I'm basically trying not to show my Terra type here. I'm either Terra Flying or Terra Fighting. So I do basically go into Spidops. I just do some bullshit. I'm trying to Poison Jab him, but then I later remember that he is Covert Cloak, which just prevents all the additional effects of moves. So I'm just like doing some swapping BS, trying to figure out if I can win this game just by getting a poison. But at this point, like I basically don't want to show most of my Sneasler set. That's the whole point that I'm doing this. But honestly, at this point, it's like I'm basically losing the game. But we could skip a few turns. I basically sack Spidops and then reveal that I do have Substitute. He counters, and then I close combat into a close combat, and we win game 1. So looking at this, unfortunately, we did reveal our Terra type. Our Klefki put in a lot of work. We did not reveal a lot of stuff for our team, and we found out a little bit of information from his team. All right, and then for game 2, obviously, we just won that match. We're feeling fantastic here. We definitely still have some plans. We have basically, I think the same lead works. I think Spidops basically can handle Baxcalibur if it's the same lead. Oh wait, also we're not playing music, sorry about that. I think Spidops is just good for setting up hazards immediately. So I think, and Spidops basically just beats Toadsquirrel as the lead, so I'm definitely thinking Spidops here. So we still lead Spidops. I think I probably could have changed my my lead here, but I think Spidops is pretty good. He does lead Overcool, which made me believe that he has Taunt. So I do end up switching out. I should have U-turned. I shouldn't have hard switched like this. This was definitely a dumb play on my part. I was just worried that like he's basically gonna crunch. Did I show off my red card? I think no, I didn't, because it was Quack. Okay. Yeah. Super nice that game 1 also I didn't show off my red card. So I basically didn't want to activate my red card. I could have U-turned there, but also like, you know, there's a probability that like he like sets up later, and then I needed that red card. So yeah, so I do hard switch into Hatterene. We take a crunch, and it goes into a defense drop, which I actually would have lived the poison. Oh shit, I don't have calcs up. Let me do this really quickly, because I can just check. Hat, I'm pretty sure I lived that. Overquill, Barb, yeah, 37 to 48. So I definitely lived that, but unfortunately due to the defense drop, I can't do that. I think even then he probably would crunch again, but I would still get off some good damage on this that I definitely need. He actually decides to double on the Klefki switch, which is definitely a good play. Here, I'm definitely thinking he's going for Spore, so I basically have to choose a Spore sack. But I do double into Rotom first, basically saying that I'm willing to take damage on my Rotom to basically hope that nothing gets spored. I was also thinking of doubling into Sneasler here, but it actually doesn't do enough damage to Toedscruel. I think it does about half. But he also wasn't defensive. I think he had 252 HP. Yeah, my Dark Claw does half. So I definitely can't come in right away. He Sludge Bombs and unfortunately gets a poison again, which is really important because it does whittle down my Rotom Mo. So we are taking some Poison Chip. I do decide to switch here because I don't want to take more Sludge Bombs. I basically, if my Rotom Mo goes down, then I don't have a Spore switch in. We switch into Tatsugiri. We're basically threatening a Draco Meteor here, which is enough damage to basically allow Sneasler to come in. But we do see Vaporeon come in. I was basically predicting... I was worried about Draco Meteoring into Enamorus, but I do Terra Blast because I thought the Terra Blast chip would be really good for Enamorus. And then here I decide, I think I go for another one, right? No, I actually go for a Rapid Spin. Why did I go for a Rapid Spin there? Oh, I thought he was going to Wish Baton Pass. That's right. And I thought the Rapid Spin might be important for taking on Enamorus. So even then I do get the 1.5 speed. I realized that game 1, Enamorus is actually super important for him to win the game. So I'm actually willing to take the Moonblast damage because I do have the berry now. I can live this hit and then go for a Terra Blast. Obviously, it doesn't do that much, but it basically does enough where I put him in a weakened state for something to kill it later. So yeah, then we go Hat. Obviously, we live this hit here. So I think we go Trick Room, or do we just go straight up Dazzling Gleam? Okay, we do go Dazzling Gleam, which is a 60% chance. He actually goes for Crunch, knowing that he can't kill me with the Poison type move, because that would obviously set up my thing. And then we go for a Trick Room, and he actually protects, but it ends up not mattering because we do get a high roll. I mean, the roll is about like 62, I think is the max, so realistically that wasn't too hard. Then I see him going on Quag, which obviously I'm ready to Giga Drain here. I think personally this was you know, I was definitely watching my opponent, how he plays games, and he definitely plays like the most. I think that I felt like Vaporeon was a better optimal play here. But like in this situation, I can Giga Drain obviously, but he throws out Quagsire and I can Giga Drain him. But then it puts me in the scenario of like, well, if I don't Giga Drain him, then he can just Earthquake, but I can Dazzling Gleam as well. So I'm pretty sure he switches out into Enamorus and then I Giga Drain, but also it's like I can still Dazzling Gleam the following turn. So I can just Dazzling Gleam again, but honestly I think at this point I should have maybe Drained again, or at least when Quag was out, I shouldn't have made I basically saw that Quag took a lot from this, so like there's no way that he's staying in. I should have always predicted Enamorus and just gone for Dazzling Gleam and I would have killed it. But it's still fine. We're still in this. We're still definitely in this. He goes for a Wish. We set up another Trick Room. He's definitely going to bring something in, but at least we want to get some damage off. I thought he was going to bring in either stay in with Vaporeon or go... for some reason I thought he would go Quag, because if I Dazzling Gleam, he could take the Dazzling Gleam damage and Wish back up. Unfortunately, he does go Toedscruel, so it takes a Giga Drain, meaning it's back up to full. But I do have 54% health, meaning I guarantee live a hit. We go for a Mystical Fire, especially after the special attack drop. We live this Sludge Rom. I think we lived it even without it. I think it does max 43, but it does poison me, which this is absolutely insanely important because now it means I do proc my weakness policy, but I'm now at 14%. And I'm looking at my weakness policy is procced. I still have 3 turns of Trick Room, or I think 2 after this, meaning I have 2 turns of Trick Room. I should be able to pick up 2 kills here, basically. And I think I make a giant misplay. Understanding what my opponent did last time, Quagsire into Enamorus when I had the free Giga Drain, I felt like he would have thought that I was going to predict him here. So I actually go for a Dazzling Gleam, which is a bad... I guess I should have... I think I should have hard read him more of like, he's... The way that he's playing this game is like he's trying to stall at the Trick Room turns. He's always stalling. He's never going for like a hard read of basically on me. So I definitely should have been Giga Draining here. It's very useful, but I think I was worried about dying to the Sludge Bomb. Obviously, if I Giga Drained here, I gain back basically all my HP because I just soaked up Vaporeon. Also here, I have an opportunity to just Dazzling Gleam, and he can go Quag here, or he can, you know, he can make several plays. Basically, I can Giga Drain here. And he could double out, or he could just stay in. But I think my best bet, he could also Baton Pass. I think that was my other option. Me, I'm like, okay, well, I could definitely save my Hatterene. I think I was hard reading him too much of like, he's gonna know that I want to save my Hatterene, because otherwise I'm just gonna sit here and let it poison and die. Like, I can just keep this as a sack. So I thought that he would make a switch, so that's why I go for Dazzling Gleam. But he just protects, and I basically sack my Dumbledore, which could have been a really good sack for later, as well as just that poison damage. Basically that poison damage into like those like not even misplays. It was just like me trying to predict the wrong things. Basically nullified me getting at least 2 kills here. But I do bring in Sneasler. Go ahead for Terra Fighting, meaning that Vaporeon is dead. We do take a defense drop. That's totally fine. Enamorus comes out, obviously showing that it's Scarf. We go into Spidops because it's actually super important, because we're debating whether it's going for Moonblast or Mystical Fire. I'm pretty sure 2 Mystical Fires takes us out. Also at that range, Close Combat isn't killing. So for him, I was thinking about going Klefki. That's why I made the Spidops play. Obviously we show off our red card for the first time, and then he goes Toedscruel. Do I U-turn here? I should have U-turned there. I think that was just a more optimal play, but I thought the poison would be really good on Baxcalibur because I was worried about losing to a sweep. So I do end up going for a U-turn, and I saw that he's slower, which is really bad for me because obviously he's countering something right now. If he's slower than me and he normally is faster than me, he's definitely countering something right now. So I'm like, shit, well, I gotta take a counter. Unfortunately, the switch is Rotom. I think I should have never U-turned there. I think that was a really smart play on him to counter. Basically, counter is always last priority, meaning the U-turn. He'll effectively always get damage off, which I should have just like additionally spiked there. That was my main idea too, was the Toxic Spike, but I was like, okay, well, what if he goes Toedscruel? So, but I do end up stacking my Clippers. Wee bit unfortunate. I do go for a Substitute this time. Also, like literally another prediction. I could have just CC'd here. And I would have done hella damage, but of course he makes a good call and reads me and catches my Substitute on the Encore, which obviously prevents me from doing anything next turn. I think also in this scenario, let's look back at this. In this scenario, I CC you. If you counter, I'm dead. If you Earthquake, I live. So you're never going for Earthquake. You're either 50-50 going for counter, or you're going for Encore. So if I make, so what happens here? If I close combat, he counters me. Can I win this game? No. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense why he Encores here. I think in his mind he knows that I have to sub, because the last 2 can't win. Meaning if I just close combat here, like it would be a giant misplay on my part basically. But I should have gone for it because it's the winning play. So he does Encore me, meaning I have to switch, go in Spidops, take an EQ. We don't take a lot from EQ, which is awesome. So I set up another Toxic Spike, knowing that he's basically willing to let me set up hazards on this thing. So I'm spiking again. He goes for another Earthquake. And then, I mean, I'm at this point, I'm like still like, it's like, I'm not going for U-turn. But then he shows Heavy Duty Boots on Toedscruel, where I'm like, okay, now it's all making sense. I also thought about switching on the Rapid Spin and going straight in my Sneasler, but I didn't know, even if he was 252 speed, I'd have to look at his set to see if the rapid spin mattered, but basically because of the rapid spin, I was basically worried that he might outspeed my Sneasler. But also I didn't know if he had Earth Power or blah blah blah. This play I go into Klefki's and then I'm like I'm trying to imagine what's the better outcome here. Is it possible to beat this game with Sneasler, or is it possible to beat it with Klefki's? I ultimately thought that was better with Klefki's because the Namorous does have Scarf, meaning it always outsped me. So I burn Sleep Turn on Sneasler, burn 2 Sleep Turns, we take an EQ, we do live it. I have Papa Berry as well. That's 3 Sleep Turns. I think you always get 3 Sleep Turns. I think it's between 2 and 3, right? I don't know. We were kind of betting on something. Go for a close combat, do 66%, and then we catch another EQ. And of course, at this point, Klefki just loses because of Encore. He could just Encore me into Calm Mind, and I lose to Earthquake, as well as Iron Defense. I mean, my Calm Minds don't matter because he's unaware. But I definitely should have thought about that more in the sets of like, if I Calm Mind, I definitely don't beat Quagsire because he's unaware. So we do lose game 2. Unfortunately, we definitely had some misplays. There were some close calls. I will definitely say there was a lot of close calls in this match. We could have easily won this match if we made the right predictions, but ultimately my opponent ended up winning out, as well as we got hacked a little bit, but it's not too big of a deal. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it is just Pokemon. Moving on to game, hold on, wait, let me make sure this got no spoilers. Reset. Moving on to game 3, I'm like, okay, I could lead Spinops again. Basically, now knowing that Overqwil does not have taunt, I can just freely set up like whatever I want. Of course, Toedscroll does have rapid spin, but of course I can always just U-turn on it and it'll take a lot of damage. So lead on Spidops, see Overqwil come out, we take a crunch, obviously activated the red card, and I set up a Toxic Spike because I was like, okay, well, he is going to get red carded into something. And I thought ultimately it was beneficial because, you know, if it's Toedscroll, I can U-turn. If it's Quagsire, I can also U-turn. Basically forcing him into a scenario where he wants to switch back out into Overqwil, but unfortunately, Enamorous comes out, which just has an amazing matchup to Mystical Fire something and do a lot of damage. We luckily live on 1. This doesn't even matter like at all. I think it was like a super low roll that we lived at, but we do go for a U-turn. Because he is locked in Mystical Fire, I basically now know that he's Scarfed and he must switch. He goes into Overqwil for the Intimidate. I thought before this battle I would substitute and the substitute would activate before the Intimidate, but of course I'm stupid. So substitute goes up and we close combat. We do like 40%, which is literally nothing, but we do take some damage. I think I could have also Swords Dance there, but I'm still not killing. So ultimately I decided to just take the damage. He goes for a Barb Barrage and then doubles out into Toedscroll. We then go Hat on his double. I was more predicting Quag, that's why I went for that double. And then we do actually make a good use of Spidops. Spidops was basically a sack at 2%. But now that I know that he has Spore in his thing, this is a great Spore counter basically. Because I could just leave him Spored and just keep him in the back of my party, meaning Hat can actually take on Toedscroll. He does reveal Leaf Storm, but ultimately it's not that important because we Dazzling Gleam. And now that he's at -2 special attack, I was debating on whether he'll switch here. I think I Trick Room. He does miss the Leaf Storm, which is pretty nice, although it wouldn't have done too much. After we do another Mystical Fire, we take even less damage. So yeah, 18% is literally nothing. At this point, another like play that I should have understood from my opponent is that he's always willing to preserve something, especially since he has Wish Baton Pass. So I think, although it would have been an insanely ballsy play, I mean, I'm just spamming Dazzling Gleam. Why should he not go into Vaporeon, right? Because everything else is just getting 2-hit KO'd no matter what. So I think ultimately maybe I should have Giga Drained here as well, but it's definitely a hard read because obviously if I Giga Drain, I get an ass load of health. So then he does protect, and basically I was expecting him. I mean, although I had let's see, like half HP, I knew that he was doing a protect here, and I thought, well, how can I basically optimize my way of winning this. So I go Klefki, knowing that he's gonna protect. I'm like, okay, well, Vaporeon definitely cannot win this match if I'm Calm Minding up. So I do go. I go into Rotom, and then I'm like, okay, he's gonna go Quag, but obviously Baton passes first. Definitely a better play for him. I think for me, maybe I should have just Magnet Rose first, and then definitely baited in the Quagsire to go for an Encore or whatever. But of course, my Rotom Mow, I do know now that my Rotom Mow counters the Quagsire, which is ultimately what I'm going for. But he does bring in Overquill, goes for Barb Barrage, and then Calm Minds. And then he sets up a Spike, so I'm like, ooh, okay, this is a good opportunity. I can actually Magnet Rise here, meaning he can never EQ me, and I can just start to Calm Mind. And if he Encores me, this is totally fine, because, like, you know, we saw in game 1, this is, like, super good for me. I can just Calm Mind up, and, you know, even if he lowers my special attack, it's totally fine. Like, I can take out an Enamorus, and I can Calm Mind up a bunch. At this point, once my Encore is done, yeah, there it goes. And my Magnet Rise is gone. I'm like, okay, well, for him, he's definitely not staying in. So my best play is to always go Quag. Or his best play is to always go Quag, so I do Magnet Rise again. Even I could take the Mystical Fire damage, which is why I don't care. So then I Calm Mind again, he Encores me. I think ultimately, I didn't start to realize that basically my Flash Cannon does no damage to Quagsire. And I think he starts to realize after a series of Magnet Rises that it doesn't matter, basically. Like, literally none of this shit. None of this shit really matters, because Quag with Unaware takes nothing from Flash Cannon. Like, of course, like, even though I'm setting up Calm Minds, it doesn't fucking matter. So I do Magnet Rise again, even on the Quagsire switch in. I do start to set up Iron Defenses, because I'm like, okay, you know, this is good now. And then I saw him go for counter. I'm like, shit, he's right. Like, he can just PP stall me. Counter has a bajillion PP. Like, I have Calm Mind being my max. I think, like, if I do this, I basically lose. You know what I mean? And basically, he's in no threat of Flash Cannon. So, ultimately, for him, it's, like, totally fine. I think, like, even if I ran Stored Power as my final move instead of Flash Cannon, I think it was worse because it does not match well into Enamorus or Baxcalibur, but it does beat Quag. And I think ultimately that was like, well, do I win this sacrifice or do I not? I think at the end of the day, I think Flash Cannon is still a really good move. But honestly, let's do a check here. If I was I mean, I'm like +6 everything. Like, I assume Stored Power would actually do a lot. Quag. Yeah. Oh, ooh, it does like 60 to 75%. So ultimately, Flash Cannon, very useful for breaking Baxcalibur subs, and very useful for taking on an Enamorus as well, obviously, because I have to keep, you know, Calm Minding. But I think in this scenario, Stored Power would have been good, but obviously if I show Stored Power, then Overquill walls me. So it's definitely a lot of like, you know, Klefki can't do it all, as well as, like, he brought Iron Head on his Baxcalibur instead of Earthquake, which is super smart by him, as well as I think Magnet Rise is still important for Quag, but ultimately, like, none of this shit matters. You know, we waste some moves. He now decides that, you know, basically even at +6, Vaporeon can take this shit out. And then he also realizes, you know, since I'm doing no damage, he might as well just wish up his guys. Which is definitely smart by him. I think at some point I should have realized that this is not working. I do eventually figure that out. You know, I'm going for Calm Mind. I thought that he was just going to keep Baton passing, or just Protect stalling. That's why, you know, he wished. I thought he would switch or Protect. He actually goes for a Surf because I make a hard switch and go into Sneasler. I thought he could go Toedscruel. Anyway, I thought this at least break the chain. Pops my Aya Papa Berry, which is really terrible, meaning I don't outspeed Enamorus. So, yeah, really bad by me. And then, of course, you can always just go Overquill, which I do Dire Claw, because I was hoping that at least I could get some sleep. Do get a Paralysis, which is okay, but ultimately not that important. We do switch out into Klefki. take a crunch. That's totally fine. Basically, Klefki walls this. But obviously, the hard thing is that Quagsire basically walls my Klefki and can PP stall it. So at first I was like, okay, I wall Quagsire, but no, it walls me. So it does go for an EQ. I go for a Leaf Storm. Do some good damage to Toedscruel, honestly. I was also debating Volt switching here because he could go Baxcalibur. I think I'd end up switching out to Klefki. Yeah. So ultimately I'm trying to find a way to win, as well as I see that his spike is actually putting in a lot of work to most of my team. And of course he's wish stalling. He can basically do a lot better than me. Of course he gets a poison on the Sludge Bomb, which definitely sucks. Sorry, I'm talking like I'm really sad, but like this battle is really good. But ultimately I've seen that my Klefki set is not as good as I thought, meaning, you know, we're getting wrecked out here. Of course, like, also this poison is really fucking annoying because I can't freely just constantly Leaf Storm Toedscruel anymore because of that poison chip. So I have to go Klefki. He does end up showing Leaf Storm, or no, he showed Leaf Storm early this match, but basically Klefki can wall that. As long as nothing can be slept. Of course, I make a double into Hat expecting the Quagsire, but then I totally forgot that Quagsire just outspeeds Hat. So yeah, you can see I said that there. But yeah, definitely a giant misplay on my part. I think at this point, knowing that Klefki doesn't do what it's supposed to do this match, I definitely was on full tilt. So that's why I unfortunately just sacked Hat. And I think at this point I was like, well, shit, this is not going well for me. At here, like, I was literally spinning and I literally, oh shit, now I have to go all the way back to like, what are we at, like fucking 60. But basically, explanation, I thought at this point I was like, you know, I was definitely on tilt. Yeah, like at, what is it, this point? Nope, here. I was definitely on tilt because I was actually typing out a message to him saying like, you know, this actually isn't worth playing for me because, you know, my berry's gone. There's really nothing really here to play for. So I was literally typing out like, I'm actually willing to forfeit because this is taking too long. But then he does actually kind of break the chain. And on Vaporeon, I am allowed to Rapid Spin. And then he goes Toedscruel and I Terra Blast just for a little bit of ship. He goes for Leaf Storm. I obviously live it. And then here, I think I go for a Rapid Spin. Holy shit, I'm ballsy. Yeah, what the I mean, Leaf Storm drop, but like I think he still kills me there, right? Yeah. I think he definitely still kills me. I do go for another Rapid Spin, meaning I've got +3 speed now. And then as soon as I saw him surf my Storm Drain, I was like, okay, I'm deleting this forfeit message right now because we got a chance, baby. The chance is back. So I'm predicting him to definitely switch out into something. I don't think I was predicting him to go Enamorous, but obviously he makes a safer switch and goes into Overquill. Of course, I am going to Terra Blast. It doesn't matter, like even if he wants to like hard switch into something. I do Taunt, which is super crucial here. I didn't want to show the like that I was wanting to taunt the first turn, but basically this taunt basically forces him to switch out next turn. Which I probably could have Draco'd here, but ultimately it doesn't make a difference because I am so fast that I can just two-shot this thing. So we do get a kill there, which is really big for us. Of course, Baxcalibur comes out, and I am definitely not willing to like make a ballsy switch and then catch a sub. So I'm definitely, I think also in his mindset, I'm definitely willing to just sack Mons, aren't I? But also I could have gone Klefki, but I was still taking about 20%. So not that great. I go on Baxcalibur. I am predicting him to switch, so I do go for sub. And at this point, I am a little bit ahead. I basically had to make a 50-50 there, whether he was going to sack his Baxcalibur. So I was adapting a little bit, understanding that he was definitely going to want to keep his Baxcalibur alive. So I do close combat, and I also here was like, okay, he could switch out into something, or he could stay in. I think I Dire Claw. Yep, I do Dire Claw, and he ends up sacking his Toadscruel, keeping the Quag alive. Then Enamorus comes in. I think ultimately it didn't matter because, I mean, even if he sacked that, I don't think it matters, but I think he understands that Quag is super good. So we sack the Spidops here because Toadscruel is gone. It can't spore anything. He does Mystical Fire here. I was ultimately deciding, I mean, does it matter? No, I think his play, yeah, his play was always Mystical Fire there. So in this position, I still have 3 Pokemon and I still have a lot of potential. Basically, Rotom Mow can take a Mystical Fire, but after the special attack drop, especially after this poison building up throughout the game, it's not looking good for us. So he actually does do a switch into Quag, which I think I do predict. Yeah. So at my position, he's like, he doesn't know whether, I think if I can chip him down with Enamorus, right, Volt Switch, maybe I can go into Klefki and Flash Cannon and kill the Enamorus, and then my Sneasler wins. So obviously from his position, he had to make that switch because I guess I could have Thunderbolt there, which is why I double into Sneasler and then go for a Dire Claw, and then I do kill the Quag. But ultimately in this position, it's not looking good for us because boom, there's another Enamorus and I don't have a switch in. I think ultimately for Rotom Mow, maybe I should have Hexed there. Like, I don't know though, because then he also has Vaporeon, which can definitely take like a Leaf Storm or Volt Switch, so it's definitely fine. Like, he could have Poison Stalled me for sure. But basically we take a Mystical Fire here, obviously showing that we do live 1, but we only have Volt Switch. And then ultimately it didn't matter because Klefki doesn't live a Mystical Fire anyway, so it's fine. GG. GG to the boy Wichita Weaviles for taking this match. Ultimately, I think we both played really well. There was a lot of chances for me to win, but obviously you gotta make the plays to win the games. So yeah, I'm not really upset about this fight, but definitely upset, I guess, about some missed opportunities that I could have made. So I guess in terms of criticisms toward me, I think I could have not tried it a little bit harder, but maybe adapted a little bit more. But yeah, that is our run for season 2 of the PBO, the New York Nickets. We were season 1 champ and then we got toppled, but we will be back in the future. I do want to announce that we actually won't be back for season 3. I'm going to be taking a break just because I have a lot of shit going on between like other content that I'm making. But at the moment, I am going to be taking a break from the PBO season, at least for season 3. I'm definitely helping out being like a moderator and stuff, and I'll probably be back for season 4 to get my ring back, of course. But yeah, without further ado, we are the New York Nickets, and we're coming back season 4, most likely. AKA, I wish I had like a really badass like title here that said like the New York Nickets will return. But yeah, GG's to my opponent, really well played. Also the finals. If Soren doesn't do a finals upload, I'll do it because I think it should be interesting. Basically, one guy has like Last Respects Basculegion with Terra Ghost, which is actually like Rex shop. So it'll definitely be interesting. But yeah, without further ado, make sure you like, comment, subscribe for more content, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.